Excellent. Excellent. Well, for the sake of time, we can get started. And I have all the emails of the students who were interested, so we can share this information with them if they don't make it or they make it late. So I will first introduce myself. My name is Sarah Souza. I am the Assistant Director of International Admissions here at Duquesne. I work in the Center for Global Engagement, and we do pretty much everything international. That includes bringing students here, sending students abroad, welcoming scholars, and doing international events. So we're very excited for you to join us today. And I'm very excited to introduce Dr. Jeffrey Jackson. He is the director of the Computer Science Master's Program here at Duquesne and a professor in the program. So really desirable program for our students. See a lot of these applications come through my world. So we're really excited to have you today. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks very much, Sarah. And good morning, everybody. Well, morning here, sorry. Whatever time of day you're in. Hi. I just wanted to say a few things about the program quickly and then open it up for your questions. And if you have a question as I'm speaking, feel free to jump in and ask it. This is a picture of our campus, a little bit of our campus. And it's, as you can see, kind of a pretty place, but right on the edge of downtown Pittsburgh, which is sort of a good location. So why would you want to study computer science at Duquesne University? Of interest to many international students is that we are a STEM designated program, which means that there are OPT and CPT training opportunities, potentially paid, which can extend even after your degree program. We do have a pathway program. So some students have good English skills, but not good enough to qualify for regular admission. We have a program designed to allow you to increase your English skills while you also take a course or two in our program. So kind of a gentle introduction into English plus computer science for the first year, maybe first year and a half, and then transitioning to full computer science. We are a program that is taught by full PhDs in computer science and related fields, and an interesting variety of backgrounds. We have a 30 credit program, which can be completed in as little as 1.5 years if you're motivated to work hard. It does not have a thesis requirement. There are no comprehensive exams, anything like that. Let's see. Another interesting aspect of the program is we are located in Pittsburgh, and we are part of a consortium which allows for cross-registration. So as a Duquesne student, you could potentially take a class or two at Carnegie Mellon or the University of Pittsburgh, which is attractive to some students. Those are obviously very well-regarded schools. As I mentioned, we are right on the edge of downtown Pittsburgh. We have a lot of employers here that are interested in tech people, and so that means there are opportunities for local internships and whatnot. Of course, many students nowadays are finding internships or employment remotely as well, but it's nice to sort of be able to know that there are places close by. Some of the local employers here include Apple, Google, Uber. So there are some high-tech companies that do employ people here. We have a streamlined application process for our program. We do not require the GRE exam unless you want to be considered for an assistantship. Really, right now, we've already made our assistantship decisions for this year. So that's pretty much anybody applying now does not need a GRE. There is a language requirement that students be proficient in English, but that can potentially be waived if you had English as your primary, as your only instruction language in your undergraduate program. Our tuition is relatively competitive relative to other programs in the College of Liberal Arts, which is where our program is located. We have a kind of a pretty much a 25% discount currently relative to those other graduate programs. And that's my little introduction, and I'm very happy to take any questions you have.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I think actually you surprised me with some of the your introduction with taking classes at the other university. So I learned something too. That's great information. While our students are kind of thinking about their questions, and students, we invite you to put them in the chat. So if you have a question, put it in the chat, and I'll kind of ask the first question. But Dr. Jackson, when you are working with international students, maybe let's talk about the application. Is there something that you encounter consistently with international students that they face with the application, or questions that are quite often coming across your desk?
One thing I didn't mention is that we do require a transcript evaluation from an independent. There are certain recognized organizations who evaluate transcripts and provide us with their evaluations. And that's to guarantee authenticity and to also help us with understanding the equivalency between grades in other systems and grades in the US system. So it's a helpful process to us. That is a requirement. And some students do ask about that, and the answer is we do require it. There really isn't a way around it right now.
Yeah, I just put the link in the chat. That's something I also get a lot of questions about too, is the transcript evaluation. And we work with several evaluators, so it's not just Wes, there's other ones, and you can click on that link and you see what is the other options. I know Spantran comes around pretty quickly in terms of an application evaluation. Dr. Jackson, when can the students start the program? Is there only one time that they can start, or
Great
is it all the
question.
time?
Yeah, I should have put that in there.
That's what this time is for.
Yes. Both fall and spring admissions are possible. Summer, not so much. We really don't have any coursework offered in the summer. A student who's in the program can potentially earn some credits during the summer, either taking an internship or there's what's called an independent study option. So some students come in, they take some classes, meet some professors, and maybe find a project that a professor's working on that they can help with, and can earn academic credit and potentially have their name on a paper before they leave the program. So as a co-author. So there is that opportunity to kind of earn some credits during the summer, but as far as entry, really fall and spring. But either one is fine. There's no real difference. You can start at either of those semesters and just carry on.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned in the presentation you could complete it in a year and a half, but what is, if the students want to kind of spread that out, what would be the maximum time that they could take the program?
Yeah, Duquesne allows up to 6 years for a master's program.
Wow.
So you can take quite a long time.
Yeah.
And we do have some part-time students that are here locally, and sometimes they will take quite a few years to complete. They might be taking just one class a semester. They might take two, but then take a break for a semester. So we do see some students that can take quite a while, but most full-time students will be done in 2 years. And again, those who want to go fast maybe can be done in as little as a year and a half.
Yeah. So, okay, 2 years is about average. And then those opportunities you mentioned in the summer are great. For the students listening, you would work with our office with your immigration documents to kind of make sure that you're completing all the requirements to complete like a CPT experience, which would be internship or some type of curriculum-based training that would allow you to take an internship or some type of work experience. So we do that all the time with students. And we do have a question. So Professor, is there an active research in the department for students interested in research opportunities? What other funding options are available for students that didn't secure an assistantship position in the department?
Two good questions. So most of our faculty members are engaged in some form or another of research, and there's not a formal way to connect. It's more like you arrive here, you meet our faculty. We're not a large faculty. There are 5 PhD computer science faculty members who are offering the courses in this program. So, and we're relatively friendly. We're approachable. So you're certainly welcome to kind of get to know us. You'll get to know us somewhat through classes, but if you don't have a class with somebody and you want to know more about their research, you can just drop us an email or come by the office during office hours and chat with us about it. So I'd say a lot of the research right now, two professors in particular tend to take on more students than others, and that's Dr. Yasser Jararwe. He does systems-oriented research, so Internet of Things, 5G related, so edge computing, things like that. He's done some blockchain work, so he has a number of interesting things that he works on, and is very prolific as a writer, and really has taken on a number of master's students to work with him. And then Dr. Patrick Eula does work in authorship attribution and just natural language processing in general. Has a lab and does some really cool stuff. So those two are kind of popular professors for doing research with. I do research more in philosophical underpinnings of computer science, but I have a student working with me right now who's kind of interested in that, so that's cool. So there are a number of opportunities. None of them currently are funded, so I need to emphasize that, I suppose, that these are sort of volunteer things, but can lead to you earning academic credit, and again can potentially learn to sorry, can lead to you being a co-author on a paper, which is cool, or maybe a couple of papers, depending on how hard you're working on those things. As far as funding opportunities, so again, we don't currently have any research assistantships. We have in the past, and we might again in the future, but right now we don't. And we don't have any scholarships to offer. There is that 25% or so discount, but beyond that, we don't have any funding. If you visit our website, I do have a link there to some ideas of places you can apply or whatever for potential funding, but we don't offer any. And Sarah, I don't know what you might know about in your office.
Well, I can say that anytime you're on an F1 visa, you are allowed to work for the university. So you don't need, it's not necessarily a scholarship, but if you do want to have a part-time job to make some extra money here to go towards your expenses, you could look for a job on campus, and you wouldn't need any type of special permission, or you wouldn't have to wait either to qualify for that. You can always work for us as long as we are paying you. That's okay. So after that, of course, if you want to apply for the CPT program, then that could be paid potentially, and you would work with our immigration advisor on that. So that would be some internship opportunity in the area. And you mentioned a little bit about it, Dr. Jackson, but can you tell us a little bit about what students do in your experience outside of the classroom?
It varies quite a bit because obviously it's a broad field. The university has a system called Handshake, which students can make use of for posting their resumes, and then employers post there. You can search for employers, employers can search for you. The university also hosts job and internship fairs at various times through the year. And not only our university, but other institutions hold these job and internship fairs that Duquesne will alert you to, so that you could attend those either in person or increasingly virtually. So there are various networking opportunities, I suppose you might call them, to allow you to locate potential employment. We don't have an arrangement with any one employer. Uh, Being here in Pittsburgh, where there are lots of employers, we don't really feel a need to kind of do that. So a lot depends on the students. Some students will find remote work, and that can be quite varied. Some students, as I mentioned, I mean, not international students, but we have students who are living in Pittsburgh and coming to our classes, and of course they might be working full time and then you're part time, so they already have a sort of built-in internship.
Mhm.
uh, so um, a lot of folks, I think, tend to find things that are maybe web oriented, um, database related, things like that. A lot of the interest of students is in machine learning and AI. We do have those courses. I haven't seen as much of that being internships that people have found, but
Well, that's
hopefully
helpful.
we'll grow into that.
Exactly. And we have the director, one of the directors for the career services coming to speak with us later in the semester. So thanks for kind of introducing that to students. It's a great resource that you can start to use right away on campus. We have a question about the admission letter. So congratulations, first of all,
Yes.
to being admitted. That's wonderful. So we hope you can join us. So the question's about the total that is described on the letter and the difference between the credits and that total. So it says you may total 37,972 per academic year. And I see that it costs 1,054 per credit. And so that's less. So the letter is including some expenses on top of that, correct?
Yes.
Mhm.
I'm not an expert on the letter
Yeah.
where that number comes from, but what I've seen before is that includes tuition, housing expenses, other living expenses, insurance, medical insurance expenses, um, potential cost of books and supplies. So all of those things together could come up to that amount. The
Yeah.
31,000 quoted there wouldn't be per academic year. The normal student would take 2 years. So roughly 15,000 per year, 16,000 per year would be tuition. And the remaining would be for your housing, would be a major expense. This is, to make sure that you're aware that you need significant resources. You can't just pay tuition. You need to be able to live as well, and just give you an idea of the cost of living and that sort of thing. That's what that number is intended to do. That's kind of the whole package of what it would cost.
Yeah, I think I actually answered this with a student before too. So there's a number on your letter that you may spend up to that. And then there's an amount on your I-20 as well. So some of those, expenses outside of tuition are just estimated. So you could find an apartment here and you may not spend close to that. You may spend more if you have, some specific taste on things. That's really up to you. So we do try to give you as best an estimate as we can. So you can calculate the tuition, and you are doing so correctly with the current price. So any other questions? We are nearing our time here at the end, so it's important to get your questions in. Um, can we do an internship twice during our course duration, or can it only be done once?
I I believe it can only be done once. I will double check and get back to you on that.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a little hazy because we have two master's programs, and the other one is a 36 credit one, and I think they're allowed to do it twice because of that. But I actually not positive about this program, so I will double check that. But
And
I
you're
think
saying
just once
for credit
per credit.
purposes.
You
Okay.
can you can yeah. So it's 3 credits for a maximum for internship. The actual requirement is that you put in essentially 40 hours worth of computer science related work for someone. And that will satisfy the internship requirement, but you'll receive 0 credit for it. And then kind of for every 40 hours of additional work you do, you qualify for credit. And I believe you can only earn up to 3 credits for internship.
Okay, yeah. And for the visa side of things, you could apply for CPT more than once, but then that's not really connected to the credit. So that's kind of two different things.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We have another question here. What can you tell us? So this is for visa interviews. What can you tell us about computer science at Duquesne that is special? So if you could say one thing that's special about your program.
Well, yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the things that I like about Duquesne is that we do have the blend of research. So there is activity going on that way, but our program is just a master's program. We do not have a graduate PhD program. Many universities, the master's program is just sort of an add-on. They have a PhD program, and oh, okay, we have this master's program as well, and it gets sort of not looked at as carefully, not it's not as big a deal to them. But this is a big deal to us. This is our graduate program in computer science, and so our faculty are quite dedicated to it and spend a lot of time with master's students. So I think that sets it apart from many master's programs that you would find. Not all, but
Another question, and I think I've seen this before. It says, I've been asked to complete a course before registering for
yes.
classes. Yeah, I thought you'd know this one. I just need to know how to inform once it's done, and what is the timeline for this? Good question.
So, right. So it's not uncommon for some of our students to be admitted provisionally. And in a letter, it would specify particular coursework that needs to be satisfied before you could be regularly admitted to the program. And there are instructions. There's a link to a web page that gives instructions for various ways to satisfy that requirement, which includes some online options that are relatively low cost. But they provide a certificate at the end of that program of successful completion. You would need to provide to me your certificate that you, or if you choose to take a course somewhere, a transcript of that course. One way or another, we would need evidence that you'd satisfy the background requirement. And once we have that, then I will certify that you are regularly admitted. That needs to happen before you register for classes with us. So you cannot take any graduate computer science classes until we have that. Now, another option is to actually take an undergraduate class at Duquesne. We had at least one student who did that, who came here and took an undergraduate class to qualify for the graduate program. But while they're taking that, they can't be taking any graduate courses, computer science graduate courses. They could potentially take some English courses, or English as a second language courses, or other things, but not any graduate computer science until we have evidence that you're ready to go. Because we don't want anyone to fail. We want people to come in with a good background, ready to succeed.
Yeah, that's such a good point. That really sets you up for success here, which is what we're about. And make sure that you do read your admission letter carefully, because it does have instructions for those provisional acceptances, and you can follow those instructions. And then you definitely want to make time ahead of time. That's the other thing I see a lot, is not planning with enough time to complete the course, because when you arrive, as Dr. Jackson pointed out, you don't want to be prohibited from starting your program. And you have to take all the undergraduate classes. So definitely look at your letter and see if that's in there, and start to make plans for it. Well, we have come to the end of our time here. This has been so informative. I just want to thank Dr. Jackson. And for the students that didn't have their questions answered, you can reach out to me. I can forward them to Dr. Jackson, or you can reach out to Dr. Jackson. I'm sure you have probably had some type of communication with most of these students. Many times the names look familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, students, I just want to thank you again, and I'll be sending out the recording to this presentation, and you're welcome to contact us. So thank you again.
Yes, thank you.
Take care.